Dear guests, please welcome the moderator for session 1, Chairman of the Association of DFIs in Malaysia, Mr. Izwan Zainuddin. A warm welcome.
Ladies and gentlemen, a very good afternoon. I hope every one of you had a good lunch. I did had a good lunch, and then I really need my cup of coffee to keep me awake. It was such a good food, and I really enjoyed it. Thank you. Thank you to the organizers. Ladies and gentlemen, today we have Ms. Cecilia, President, CEO of the Land Bank of Philippines. Welcome. Mr. Saji, Chairman of National Bank of Agriculture and Rural Development of India. Mr. Tigran, Vice Chairman and Management Board, Chief of the Fund of Digital Initiative, Eurasian Development Bank. And finally, Mr. Adama Mariko, Deputy Director of Mobilization, Partnerships and Communication, and Secretary General of AFD. Welcome. So warm welcome to everyone here today. It is my great honor to be here today as the moderator for the insightful discussion on the topic of digital infrastructure. In this era of rapid advancing technology and interconnectedness, the significance of digital infrastructure cannot be overstated. Digital infrastructure serves as the backbone of our modern society, enabling seamless communication, innovation, and progress across various sectors. It is encompassed the network, hardware, software, data centers. Call upon in the interest of time, I think we will do slightly different from what we did this morning. I will let all the 4 panelists to present their presentation first, then we will save our questions at the end of the 4th presenter. Okay? With that, I would like to invite Ms. Cecilia, President and CEO of Land Bank of Philippines, to begin with your presentation.
Okay, good afternoon, and thank you for the kind introduction. I'd also like to take this opportunity to thank the Eurasian Development Bank, led by Mr. Nikolai Podguzov, for hosting this conference. So, let me begin by giving a brief overview of the digital infrastructure in the Philippines and how the Land Bank of the Philippines, the country's biggest government financial institution, is contributing to the digitalization strides to boost efficiency and productivity across all sectors. Let's look at the numbers on digital adoption and use. The Philippines has 85.16 million internet users at the start of 2023. With internet penetration at 73.1%. 84.45 million are social media users, or 73% of the 116.5 million total population. The Philippines ranks among the top 3 countries in terms of hours spent using the internet per day. Filipinos spend an average of 9 hours and 14 minutes daily, with a global average of only 6 hours and 37 minutes. These numbers clearly show the high internet usage. However, internet usage is not a reflection of the health of the internet network in my country. Which brings me to some of the challenges of digital infrastructure in the Philippines. One is slow connectivity caused by pervasive network congestion. The number of mobile subscribers per tower is more than 3 times above the average in the East Asia and the Pacific region. There are also regulatory constraints for new players to enter the telecom market, which limit competition among service providers. The installation of towers and stations are likewise bogged down by burdensome processes for obtaining permits and licenses. Another is the high-cost internet services, driven by the cost of connecting and maintaining infrastructure across the country's hundreds of islands with mountainous and tropical topology. We face an average of 20 typhoons annually that halt business and disrupt communication and electricity supply for days. The good news is that the national government has made digital transformation one of its priority programs, and collective actions are being taken to improve connectivity, especially in underserved areas. Increased competition among service providers and fast-track permits and processes to ramp up infrastructure expansion. These are welcome developments to pave the way for a robust digital economy that will significantly improve people's daily lives. Among others, it will result to more convenient payment channels, faster delivery of social services to sectors in need, and prompt information dissemination and rescue efforts during disasters, and greater access to education and training opportunities. The nation's policy agenda on digitalization is also anchored on making the financial system more inclusive, with banks playing a major role in this area. We have this era of accelerated digital transformation and post-pandemic recovery. The convenience and accessibility offered by digital financial services have fast-tracked the shift of customers to online banking and payments. The share of digital payment transactions to total transactions grew to 30%, while the total value increased to 44%. Our central bank, the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas, is aiming to grow digital payments to 50% of total retail payments and increase the number of Filipino adults with bank accounts to 70% by year-end. The Philippines currently has 6 digital banks, including Land Bank's own subsidiary, the Overseas Filipino Bank, which services Filipinos across the globe. In support of this development agenda, Land Bank has taken a more assertive push for financial inclusion and digital transformation. Let me share 3 of our initiatives in pursuit of these objectives. First is banking the unbanked. Through a co-location strategy, we work with the Philippine Statistics Authority to facilitate the account opening for unbanked Filipinos during their registration for the national ID. This resulted to 8.35 million previously unbanked Filipinos onboarded and introduced to a wide array of banking services. We also brought in more Filipinos into the formal banking system through the Land Bank Digital Onboarding System, or what we fondly call DOBS. This system has significantly shortened the account opening time for our customers and allowed them to open deposit accounts using their smartphones. Another is the introduction of the PISO account, designed for students, vendors, household helpers, drivers, farmers, and fishers to to open their accounts with only 1 peso as initial deposit. The second initiative is onboarding digital merchants. We forge strategic partnerships with various sectors in support of the bigger thrust to connect people and government in order to build an inclusive digital finance ecosystem that promotes ease of doing business, transparency, and accountability. We work closely with the national agencies and local government units to achieve greater efficiency in their operations and service delivery by adopting digital payments for disbursements and collections. We offer them a web-based payment channel called the Land Bank LinkBiz portal that provides their constituents with accessible and convenient online payment platform of local fees and charges. The Land Bank's LinkBiz portal will be linked to the eGov portal being developed by the Department of Information and Communications Technology, envisioned to be the single operating system for government transactions. We have also certified more than 1,000 agent banking partners whom we tap to provide basic banking services in unbanked areas throughout our country. The third initiative is sustained effort to improve access to formal financial services. This includes supporting the Paleng QR Plus. It's a program of the Philippine Central Bank to promote quick response code payments to market vendors and local transport drivers, thus making the payment process convenient, faster, and secure. Works are also underway to provide market vendors with a digital facility where they can avail of loans, transfer funds, pay their obligations, and do other transactions. As the main distribution arm of the national government social protection programs, Land Bank provides vulnerable sectors improved access to local financial services. 10 million of these social beneficiaries have transactional accounts, thus enabling them to perform essential banking transactions. So from market vendors, drivers of public vehicles, to transport cooperatives, we continue to build an ecosystem that is inclusive and responsive to the profile and requirements of those in the lower economic strata. These are some of the initiatives that Land Bank is pursuing to help build a resilient digital economy which businesses and communities can flourish. The world is indeed moving into rapid digitalization, and collaboration is the key. I would welcome learning from your experiences as we work towards a financially inclusive region to realize digital dividends for the benefit of all. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Mrs. Leah, for the wonderful presentation. Okay, without further ado, I would like to invite Mr. Saji, Chairman of National Bank of Agriculture and Rural Development of India, to present.
Good afternoon to all. I think I have a small presentation to make, and my job is made easier by my previous speaker who went into specifics of how. Can you load the presentation? Yeah, okay. So she was mentioning about the specifics of how they approached it, but in the lesson from India is that how we imagined the structure, how the collaborations were made, how the journey started. Actually, the India story is how private sector partnered with government, because you all know public sector may not have sufficient expertise to set up state-of-the-art technology as a digital infrastructure. So partnership with private sector is needed in terms of knowledge at least. Money, yes, public sector will have. So that was how India's journey started, that one of the leading software companies. The CEO of that software company partnered with the government, the Infosys Technology Limited, and he developed the India stack. Can you go to the next? I think how the slides move? Yes. So, coming to the overarching impacts, one is that it builds formal economy. Indian economy was till recently mostly informal economy, but then because of the digital adoption in a drastic way and in a faster way, maybe the last 6-7 years, the Indian digital adoption was higher. In fact, recent reports states that the digital transactions have overtaken the next four largest economies in the country, in the world, at least by 4 times. That's what the extent to which digital adoption happened. And it encourages equitable growth. Equitability in growth is what DFIs are concerned about. So if you want to have equitable growth, then we need to have a leveler, and that leveler is the digital adoption. Next. Yeah, so how India moved ahead? The numbers, almost 1.1% of the GDP was the expenditure saved. The India stack, which is the backbone, which I told about how we reimagined, or rather the strategies were done, how we structured that. The basic is the India stack. And of course, because of the wider, the huge population and the economies of scale, India has the lowest mobile data rates in the world, and transfer of payments instant at almost zero rate, and almost a lot of informalization happened. A lot of people came to TaxNet, and that in turn improved the GDP. And of course, for the banks to reach the unaccessed, there is a lowering of their cost in identifying the customers. And as a result, IMF has recently lauded India on how the Indian digital journey can be replicated in other countries as well. So now, decoding move to slides 4. Yeah. So I'll just mention about the Government of India's initiative, which is basically the platform builder. Government of India has ensured that the platform which is built is interoperable, and it can be, the common standards were brought in. And then institutions like development financial institutions and also financial institutions played on that, with a lot of private sector players, the tech companies coming in, providing solutions for the problems which they faced in accessing and also providing services. Can you go to the next slide? Yeah. So infrastructure as a service, that was at the base of that. That is the India stack. So the infrastructure, the public infrastructure was built in, and any tech company can come in and access the data and then provide solutions. And then the platforms were developed. The Indian experience is that we were trying to democratize even technology, democratize banking, and democratize payment systems. All were in not-for-profit company basis. In fact, the India stack is developed on a not-for-profit company. The largest payment system, which is the fourth largest in India, in the world, is also a not-for-profit company. So we were trying to democratize it and making these services as a public good. In fact, India realized that if you want to charge for everything, the adoption and also the accessibility will be limited. We wanted that across the society, people should access that. So now coming to the India stack, which I was mentioning, the next slide. Yeah. So the Aadhaar, which is the unique identification system for each and every Indian. So what the trick played was that the Aadhaar was linked to a bank account, and the Indian bank account was, the number of bank accounts in India was very less. But if you see the last 3-4 years, almost 60% of the new accounts opened is in India. So that shows that at this point of time, almost 1.4 billion of the Indian population, which is almost 100%, is covered by the Aadhaar system. That is the digital bank account, which provides for DBT, that is direct benefit transfers. And also along with that, a host of other services like digital locker, the document storing system, and then, as I told, the software as a service and also platformization of many of these activities happened. The payment system itself is a platform. Now the next journey is that the platformization of the e-commerce, that is the e-commerce platform as a not-for-profit company is being set up, so that the Amazons and the Flip and such e-commerce companies may not have take profit out of whatever transactions are happening. So there, the democratization of e-commerce is also going to happen. That is the next revolution which is in the making. Next. So the basis, the JAM, which we say, that is Jantan, which is the in Hindi, if you translate to English, it is the public wealth, and then the Aadhaar and the mobile. These three were linked, and because of that, swifter movement of funds were possible, and whatever, see, any transactions which do in society is boiling down to some financial transactions, and if that transactions can be made swifter through public digital infrastructure, then we can make people prosperous, and that exactly was what are happening. The figures are there to for you to see, and how. Next slide. How the banks and development financial institutions use that. That is what the story is. So the cost of accessing services, because development financial institutions are in the business of taking away people from the dependency from the government to the private sector. So cost of accessing services and the risks which associated with those services should be reduced, and that can be done only through technology. Otherwise, it will be too costly. Even DFIs may not be profitable in that count. So, as a DFI, what we were intending to do was that we were building a lot of solutions on the common public infrastructure, and then providing this as a service to the rural financial institutions, because we are primarily dealing with rural development as NABARD. So what we were doing is that we were democratizing these services, even the core banking services that we are now providing free of cost to the cooperative sector, which is almost 95,000 of them. Such units are there in the country, which we are democratizing that, and we are providing as a free services, and also the surround applications for the core banking services, payment infrastructure and mobile banking, internet banking. These are all provided at subsidized cost. So now there are next slide, please. There are tailwinds which pushes digital adoption, which is first one is the consumer preferences are shifting. They are more aware of digital, and they are wanting more of activities in digital. The COVID itself was a game changer. It pushed a lot of people, even the poorest of the poor, to the digital platforms. And then there are new players which are coming in. A lot of tech players, rural tech players, agri-tech players coming in to find solutions, technology solutions for the problems which are faced. And then the interoperability of the platforms which we have built have facilitated those solutions to happen at the lower cost. And then regulatory infrastructure also was positive towards adoption. In fact, regulator, the Reserve Bank of India, is pushing most of the financial institutions to technology mode, and in fact they are reviewing their preparedness, their cybersecurity policies regularly. And now, as far as NABARD is concerned, next NABARD, what we are essentially doing is that, I said about the rural financial institutions, still there is a rural-urban divide in India in providing access. Almost 60% of the population is in rural areas. So the rural financial institutions, being small, they are not able to invest in technology in a larger manner. So common infrastructure, the democratization of the core banking system, which we are providing to 95,000 odd cooperative institutions, and also around 50 of the regional banks. We are the supervisor of that. So what we are intending is that even their cybersecurity preparedness, everything is being monitored through technology. And then our supervisory activities are also digitized, and so that on a real-time basis we will be able to monitor these transactions, because we can't leave these transactions to the smaller institutions. They will be suffering in terms of technology and also expertise. So we are aware of that. Next slide, please. So what we are now trying is that the challenges which we are doing, the political challenges where there need to be a significant political will to adopt technology, and that was happening in terms of the platformization and the interoperability and the journey which itself the government of India has thought about. And then there are funding challenges which are there for providing services, which we are trying to meet through subsidized activities, and also the security challenges and the digital divide challenges, the have and have not challenges. These are all well known. And going forward, what we intend, next slide please, the last slide. So going forward, what we want is that we want to expand the digital infrastructure and increase the access to digital services through subsidized means, and then the connectivity issues need to be solved, and the tech startups need to be brought in, for which venture capital assistances are being given by our DFIs. And also we have to strengthen the cyber security, which we are tackling in bits and pieces. Data protection is very much important. The data protection bill, which is now getting passed, will be an enabler for adopting technology by the masses, and also improving the digital skills, the interoperability, which I have told. I think as development financial institutions, what we need to do is to have to partner across countries also, because there need to be common standards across platforms, so that no one platform can talk to each other, and then we can reduce costs of adopting digital infrastructure. That is what I have to put forth in the table for all the DFIs. We need to partner and reduce the cost. Thank you. Thanks for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Saji. A lot of initiative, a lot of information that was shared today. Next, I would like to invite Mr. Tigran, Vice Chairman of Management and Management of Board, Chief of the Fund of Digital Initiatives of Eurasian Development Bank.
Good afternoon, dear colleagues. I have prepared a small presentation as well, but from different point of view. One of the key elements of the emerging economic reality is the digital transformation. It has national, regional, and international dimension with clear cross-border characteristics. Also, we see a trend towards fragmentation of the global digital space. The Asia-Pacific region, and in particular, Eurasian Economic Union, have no exceptions to this rule. The digital transformation here also has several dimensions. In our integration organization, the digital agenda was approved first at supranational regional level on the basis of supranational regulator, the Eurasian Economic Commission. The document, the main directions of the implementation of the Digital Agenda 2024 was officially adopted by the heads of the states, Armenia, Belarus, Russia, Kazakhstan, and Kyrgyzstan in December 2016. And only after the relevant national programs of digital transformation were adopted. So the Integration Institute has become a driver of digital transformation in the Eurasian Economic Union. In 2020, the Fund for Digital Initiatives of the Eurasian Development Bank has been established. We are pleased and honored that the flagship project of the fund, the mobile application Traveling Without COVID-19, was highly marked by ADFIM last year and was awarded its Sustainable Awards in the category Technology Development. Thank you for such a high assessment. Let me remind you that the application Traveling Without COVID-19 has successfully solved the task of ensuring safe cross-border movement of citizens during the COVID-19 pandemic. More than 5 million times the application has been used to demonstrate the results of PCR testing. Another large-scale platform launched by the fund is the application Work in the Eurasian Economic Union, designed to simplify the process of receiving public and commercial services by citizens of the Eurasian Union countries. More than 30 services are already available for the users in Russia and Armenia today. Negotiations are underway to connect other countries to the platform. We have also announced the platform as a part of our competitive application for the ADFIM Sustainable Awards this year. Our fund is working on a number of digital projects in various sectors of the economy: medicine, jewelry, textile industry, etc. Many of the projects will be presented at third Eurasian Forum in Sochi, 8 and 9 of June. In the context of the topic of digital infrastructure, I would like to mention the cross-border digital identification and cross-border digital document flow. Those are priority issues for all countries in the region. And we, within the framework of the fund, are searching for the most optimal solutions. The search for an acceptable cross-border architecture is the main task of international development institutions. I would also highlight several key banking services that a digital cross-border infrastructure should provide. The first is digital identification. It must be discussed in relation to the banking sector. The old structure of Know Your Client system is a thing of the past. Many banks already identify the customers without documents through face and voice recognition. Over time, this system will develop deeper, and it will be necessary to build a new digital banking infrastructure for it. Today, digital identification technologies are bought by the banks, but in the future they should transform, in my opinion, into a system of interbank developments. It is better to solve this problem through coalition of banks. This will reduce cost and ensure secure data exchange. So within the framework of ADFIM, we can start actively discuss this issue of creating a joint infrastructure for this service. I have already mentioned the second service, data exchange. Every year, it occurs more elements of a full-fledged digital footprint of the client. The system of deep customer rating, which is developing in many countries, includes a huge amount of information. We have to build a digital infrastructure that should ensure a secure data flow of this information. The question is, who should own this infrastructure? And I suggest to think about it together. The third service is non-bank access to information about banking transactions. Today, banks have started selling non-personified information about financial transactions. For example, information about what people buy or where they spend money. Buying this information, business build hotels, opens shops or restaurants. This phenomenon is not regulated in the world as a whole. Although it has already been commercialized for billions of dollars. It is necessary to create not only a regulation, but a specific digital infrastructure for non-discriminatory and secured access to this information. The fourth service is the interoperability of payment systems. We should seriously think about building a non-discriminatory digital infrastructure that will ensure the interoperability of payment system. A critical area for the development of the digital infrastructure of our region is the provision of harmonious combination of strategic digital initiatives of the largest regional players. I am referring to the projects of the Digital Silk Road of China, the Asia-Pacific Information Superhighway of UN Escape, as well as the digital agenda of the Eurasian Economic Union. This is the primary task of international development institutions, national and supranational regulators. It is necessary to ensure fair and mutually beneficial cooperation and create a cross-border space of trust for all countries. This is the only way we can prevent unfair competition in the digital infrastructure area. In conclusion, I would to say that we are open to new ideas and initiatives. So we will study your proposals with great interest. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Mr. Ikuran. Next, and our final panelist, I would like to invite Mr. Adama Mariko for your presentation.
Thank you very much. Thank you to ADFIAP, and also thank you to our Kazakhstan host, the Eurasian Development Bank, and the national and local authorities for inviting the French Development Agency, AFD, and the Financial Common Coalition, which I both represent here today, to participate to this session. Just like other speakers, the French Development Agency considers that digital is critical lever towards sustainable development goals, and has developed a roadmap specifically around smart cities. In the first slide, I wanted to point a few things. As probably the next slide, please. As technology and service are rapidly in advance, cities around the world face economic and social challenges. The idea of a smart city is often at the forefront of this digital transformation, but it can't be misleading and confusing for many things. In both developed and developing regions, cities are struggling with how to effectively integrate technology into their infrastructure and services while ensuring that it benefits their citizens and communities. Digital encompasses a range of tools and solutions based on the technology of information, communication, and computing. This requires a diverse set of policies covering connectivity, infrastructure, softwares, application, online forums, etc., etc. And it generates new actors, new ways of use, and new services as well. This phenomenon is rapidly increasing at the global level, with greater speed in developed and emerging countries. Local authorities around the world are still and mostly in the learning phase. They often face challenges related to the production and adequate use of the urban data to improve the management of the city. At the same time, they need to anticipate the impact of the digital transformation on the various stakeholders within the territory. Similarly, the digital transformation, public and action, and modes of actions as well, with the specificities for each territory. For example, territories can face different organizational and government and financial challenges, which must be considered to make the most of those transitions. For a public development bank such as AFD, digital is a urban development accelerator, fastening realization of SDGs, and it is in this perspective that AFD first developed an educational and interactive tool aimed at local authorities, offering step-by-step support in the development of their digital projects and the construction of their leadership by bringing together their local ecosystem around them. This guide ensures that the local needs and the usage of digital service is thought through beforehand. This digital transition for local authorities requires strong political support to facilitate the appropriation of new tools by users and to steer policy towards an inclusive development for the territory. In the next slide, you can see that digital tools can also provide greater efficiency gains, generate new collaborations, and facilitate the co-construction in the territory for urban policies. For this to take place, local authorities need to build a number of policies such as digitize their intervention and improve their interaction with citizens, design and implement new modalities for communication between public, private, and civil society stakeholders, gradually integrate ICT into skills to improve impact, effectiveness, and accountability. Regulate and manage digital governance through regulatory framework and partnership. It is also important to monitor the use of digital data to mitigate the potential risk at the level of subnational government, local authorities, and municipalities. First, an economic risk with the possibility of creating monopoly of large platforms, privatizing data, or destroying precarious jobs. Second, an ecological risk with the duplication of infrastructures, increased energy consumption, carbon footprint, and recycling and reusage challenges. Finally, a social risk resulting from access and usage inequalities, discrimination, or privacy challenges. Building on this approach, IFD has established Sustainable City Roadmap, supporting numbers of projects in the field. I'm going to go in the next slide and give you just a few examples. One is a project funded in the Western Balkans to support several cities to integrate a smart city approach through local digital actions plan, leading to large-scale project financing. The smart city approach allows for a more resilient approach to climate change and promote transparency, for example, by using the data collected on sensitive infrastructures. The digital transformation also helps make access to public service more fluid for citizens. It is also supported by study visits in France for representatives from the cities, in Kosovo, in Montenegro, and also in Albania. I'm going to speed up for the new slide. Next slide, please. The digital also plays a critical role in the urban transport sector. Indeed, the accumulation of data due to the geolocated smartphone, intelligent transport systems, and traffic management applications help to optimize transport networks and improve service productivity. In Ghana, IFD financed the mapping of artisanal transport, the trotros, they call them. It's privately owned shared taxis, which are the most popular form of transport in the country, which most of us can relate to in other countries as well. And we have to put the data collected at the disposal to the developers so they can use it and come up with new initiative applications. Next slide. In India, we have also helped funding and support the smart city. Next slide, please. Yeah, the French Development Agency supports the smart city mission of Indian government, which is a program of urban renewable with dimension of intelligent solutions. As part of the Indian innovation, the urban innovation competition, this program accompanies 15 cities that have won this competition in the first phase, then 12 new cities in the second phase. This mission is illustrated in particular by two examples. In Dehradun, sorry, the capital of the state of in the north, in the India, sorry, for solve the problems of traffic jams, unprofitable transport, and the air pollution. IFD supports the program and has encouraged the reorganization of the public transport route and the improvement of the traffic management and in place of the digital application for the users. In Kochi, in the southwest of the country, the city has set itself the goal of creating a sector digitalized and more centralized healthcare system. This electronic health service will include structures as a database bringing together the medical records and will allow to better control the value chain for the benefits of doctors and patients. In conclusion, I want just to say that I can't stress more the important role that Public Development Bank and DFIs can play at the subnational infrastructure financing level. It's a matter that we will discuss further on. Any city, depending on its initial situation, can define objectives related to its territory and its needs. The weakness of local finance. Sorry, I'm going to the next slide, sorry. The weakness of local finance is not an obstacle either. There are simple tools and affordable digital devices that can be easily used and set up to have significant effects. What matters is strengthening the capacity of the local authorities to implement and drive the change. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Mr. Mariko. I have to say, it's been a while I moderated in this panelist session and everyone adhered to the time. Thank you, congratulations to all of the panelists today. Anyway, as a start, I will just ask a few questions to the panelists and then I'll open to the floor for any question and answers. So my first question is, I think all the four panelists touch on all the infrastructure and also all the initiatives that was undertaken by the respective organizations. But the question is on the subject of digital divide. Not all have access, not all everyone has a universal access to the digital initiatives. So, if every panelist could share on your side, how are these been addressed at your organization or even at the country level to assess the digital divide where not everyone have access to the full system? Any of the panel can?
So there is a digital divide. And digital divide can be because of the infrastructure challenges, the connectivity thing, the knowledge part. All these three things can be the reason for the digital divide. Of course, these three aspects need to be addressed in a different way and by different agencies. So in terms of infrastructure challenges, of course, the common digital platform, which I was also mentioning in my speech, that will be the base, and based on that, there need to be solutions so that the people can easily access in the way in which it can be easily understood. And for providing those things, we need to have connectivity. Mostly, this digital divide will happen in the remotest of the areas where connectivity issues are there. For that, the public investments for connectivity improvement is a must, because private sector may not be interested in developing the infrastructure over there. And then the people, the capacity of the people to understand and use. For that, a lot of training programs, sensitization, and then also telling about, if you are accessing that, how can you improve, everybody will be looking at what is there in it for me. So if we can convince them that by using these things, they can improve their living standards and their income and then they can access more services, including credit services, so that there is a digital footprint which is happening because of the access. So these three aspects need to be addressed by three different types of interventions. First of all, government, and then the second aspect also partly by government and private, and the third, by the development finance institutions, probably for skill building and such aspects.
What I would like to mention, that it is, this issue is a priority issue for our governments. And that's why I'm sure that during the next 3 or 4 years, we will see big progress in this area.
Our bank, since we also, in addition to our role as the biggest national development financial institution, we also lend a lot to the telecoms players to improve their infrastructure. We also work in close coordination with the Department of Information and Communication Technology to roll out the packages of portals, digital portals, in all the local government units, which, by the way, have all of them have deposit accounts with us. And in addition to that, I think we have a very retail base of customers. About 30 million of Filipinos are onboarded in the land bank ecosystem. So our role really is to connect the local government units using our digital portals to their constituents to create more transparency and improve the ease of doing business. And I think Land Bank of the Philippines has a very crucial role in connecting all of the players in the ecosystem using digital channels. Thank you.
Thank you. That, looking at the outside aspect, however, we also have to look from the inside, our staff. Huh? So in respect of capacity building for the staff, what are the key challenges that you face within your organization? I have to admit, in my organization back home, when I first came in back in 2019, I wanted to push for digital adoption. Everything, our services need to be digitalized, but I faced a lot of issues in terms of adapting to it. But however, COVID really pushed for it, and now all our services back home in PUMB are all digitalized. So I just want to ask from the panel, what are the things that you had to go through to get the capacity building up?
Yeah. Thank you. I mean, in the capacity building issue, it's more of a how you share also the knowledge with others, right? So actually, I'm coming from both areas where I faced a big need of capacity building because I grew up in Africa, and also when I grew up in France as well, and I seen how they have the major use and disposal this knowledge. So that's how, being in a public development bank ecosystem, I think the most we push from a northern point of view is to finance capacity building for other also, not just the states we are working with, but also with other public development banks. That's also something I've really much noticed within the finance in common movement, and even here in ADFIM. I've seen that it's something working within yourselves. It's like when public development banks can share through and share this knowledge of how they have challenges, this issue in one project in one country, which can probably be useful for another public development banks to avoid those issues, and just also have, I mean, it's not just for the population, right? So even as bankers, we have to know also these issues, the technological aspect, and just how to finance them regarding, for example, if I can take the case of cities or urban development. It's not every banker that can finance urban development, because you have to have specific knowledge on how the cities work, the local authorities work, what are the laws, the decentralization aspect, but you are just, you are a banker as well. So this is the main challenges in the network of public development banks, to share this knowledge and be sure that when we finance projects, the euro or the dollar we are putting in it is not gone forever. And at the second phase, of course, the population also has to be educated somehow. But that's a working trend. And as you said, COVID have accelerated it. I mean, everywhere in the world, be it in the developing areas or the developed areas, you have the digital access is tremendous. When a child of 2 years can use every app you have in your phone, right? So this comprehension is really useful that we build on it to have major services going forward. Transport, health, education mainly.
My slogan is, we have to work and study at the same time.
Very short, sweet, and simple. Cecilia or Mr. Saji?
So talking about capacity building of staff for accelerating digital adoption. Within an organization, of course, training is always required, as the other panel speakers told that as you work, teach them. But then the user experience of these services also need to be improved. They should not get frustrated with the challenges which they face in accessing and such other things, apart from the knowledge which they are getting. Of course, then the demographic factor also, the legacy system, they are used to the legacy systems, and once you adopt to these digital systems, then there will be a lot of resistances. And the first and foremost way to penetrate those resistance, I feel that the human resource management system, which is everybody will look at what is there within me. So we have to digitize the HRMS, that is the human resources management system, and make the whole of their benefits through the system. Then they will be forced to use the system. That is one thing. Then there can be digital adapters and the digital natives, which are now because of the worsening, the age structure, new recruits are coming in, and they will be digital natives, and they should be posted as ambassadors to teach the older staff. And I think that is the way in which we should go forward. And that way, as you work, you can teach them. That can be facilitated. That's what. And in our organization, what we are trying to do is that we are actually digitizing the whole of the activity. We are transforming into paperless office. And because of that, people are forced to use systems. Otherwise, they even their attendance management system, everything is getting digitized. So that's why we have to force them to adopt.
I think the pandemic actually accelerated the transformation of the office operations into more digital modes because of the restrictions during the pandemic. Most of our staff were working from homes, and so therefore they were trained. As mentioned by our colleague here, they were on the job training for extracting data, analyzing the data, and submitting the reports. So that's one. And now almost all our younger, the millennials and then Gen Z's employees are very adept at using digital channels to do their work. Now, we also launched, and we have a very talented pool of IT specialists developing digital products for customers. But before we launch these digital products and services to the customers, we ask all our employees to go on board, like the mobile banking app, to do their transactions digitally using their phones. And we've been successful so far. Thank you.
Thank you to all panelists. I would like to open to the floor. If everyone here today have any questions? Please don't be shy. Yes, the gentleman in front. Any microphone?
Thank you all, guys. First of all, I agree 100% with what you said, that pandemic, accelerate digitalization. But my question now, are we ready now for any upcoming, any circumstance, such as like the pandemic that we've been through it, whereby the loss will be much less than what we've been through in the pandemic? Am I clear?
Oh, I'm sorry, sir. Can you speak louder?
Okay. See, I fully agree with what you said, that the pandemic, it accelerates the adaptation of digitalization. Now, my question, are we ready for any upcoming circumstance, such as the pandemic, which we've been through it, whereby the loss will be much less than what we've been through it before adaptation of digitalization? Am I clear? Thank you.
That's an interesting question. So, whatever pandemic we have, the experience we had during the pandemic, we evolved and digitizing our processes with that. So there were chances of error, mistakes, and all, which understandably we can all blame it in the pandemic. And then we may not have built up a perfect system, but then as we went through the experiences of pandemic, we digitized the processes, and so we are at a certain stage now. Whether we are ready for another disruption, yes, that's a billion-dollar question, because business continuity planning is now that we are at a certain stage of digitization, we have to take care, protect those systems, and then when the next, if at all such a disruption happens, then we need to be more sensitive to the digital ways of doing, because we have to protect, first of all, whatever we have built up, and then we have to move forward to face the new challenges which may come up. Even the remote working also, I don't know whether it will be possible in the new, because we have to be prepared for the worst. That's what. So, and that for that, a lot of huge infrastructure, business continuity planning, and then the risk management systems need to be proper. A lot of technology need to be, and then the investments also need to be there, mostly by the public institutions.
Of course, I agree on that, and just to build up on that as well, I think the question is, there is a mass adoption of digital tools, and the fact that we can now use administrative process and working process through digitalization. But behind the scene, how do we use it and what for? The development of the technologies and the use of data, I think that's the perspective on how, on the future, we can be more efficient and more, what for? The question is there. So as we are speaking about climate and challenges, developing challenges, health issues, etc., the mass investment we have on digital infrastructure with the COVID, it accelerated the investments, actually. So that's what we can build on as capacity for further use of those data for public services, for example.
I would like to add some other. From supranational point of view or regional point of view, I see four big challenges. First, we have different regulation in digital areas. Second, we do not have common standards. Third, we have problems with interoperability between big ecosystem. And the fourth challenge is all our countries today are trying to protect the digital information, digital data, especially personal information. And we don't know how organized free flow of data between countries. And I think that together with developed financial institutions, we should discuss these big challenges, suggest our solutions, how we can overcome this kind of difficulties.
Thank you. Thank you for the panelists. Okay.
With more and more information assets residing in the digital portals, cybersecurity is really a big issue now for financial institutions, and therefore investments in making sure that the information assets residing in these digital portals are secured, it should be a priority. So banks like my bank who, is really investing a lot in making sure that we have the necessary firewalls to secure the information assets of our customers. So I think that's one important consideration.
Thank you. Thank you for the question. May I still open to the floor if any more questions?
If there is no more question, we need to finalize this session.
Yeah, maybe if there's no more questions, I would just like to sum it up from what we have discussed today. Maybe there are 4 things I can summarize what we have discussed with the panelists today. One is the government push is important in respect of connectivity, especially in the rural area. However, the private sector also needs to play its role in respect of the SDG, from the SDG point of view. Number 1. Number 2, as Mr. Raj mentioned, digital information and identification is also a key important in how it can be expanded into interbanks and also in between countries. Thirdly, authorities around the world are still mostly in the learning stage. That's very interesting. And then there's still a lot of things needs to be done to push them and for them to strengthen their capabilities. And also finally, I would say it's like system and infrastructure needs to be constantly upgraded to assist and also to be relevant. I think that's the key takeaway point from the discussion we had today. So I would like to thank all our panelists for a wonderful presentation and the discussion. And thank you for attending to all the queries that we have today. I would like to extend my heartfelt gratitude to ADFIM, City of Almaty, sponsors, and all of you for joining us today. Let's embark into this journey of exploration together and to unlock the vast potential of digital infrastructure. With that, thank you and have a wonderful day.
Thank you so much, Mr. Moderator. A round of applause, our distinguished guest. Thank you so much, our speakers.